Hello class, good day. My name is Sir Ojer Manyo and I will be your science teacher for today. So our subject for today is science. We are going to deal with matter, and this is the first module that you are going to learn. The title of the module 1 is about materials that absorb water, float, and sink and undergo decay. In this module, you are going to learn 3 lessons, and in this video, this is a simple guide on how you are going to answer your module. So let's start. The module covered 3 lessons. The first lesson is about the materials that absorb water. The second lesson is about the materials that float and sink. And the third lesson is about the materials that undergo decay. First of all, you need to answer these questions in what I know. We have here 10 items, multiple choice. Let's proceed to lesson 1, materials that absorb water. So everything around us is made up of matter. Matter is anything that has mass and volume. It exists in different physical forms under different conditions. So in this lesson, you're going to identify and discover the different properties of matter. The first activity here, you can see a table which has 4 columns. What you're going to do here is you're going to list down the 3 different materials that are found inside your house. You're going to classify them as solid, liquid, or gas as shown in the chart below. So we have here your places inside your house: living room, kitchen, bedroom, and comfort room. You're going to write down here a material that is an example of a solid which you can find in your living room. And you're going to do the same thing in the remaining boxes. After the given table, you're going to answer the guide questions indicated below. After answering that, the next activity is about reading the poem and answer the following questions. The title of the poem is about Porosity by Maria Elena B. Espeleta. You need to fully understand and analyze the poem, enable for you to answer the guide questions below. The next activity is what is it? As you can see here, we have the matter which was divided into 2 different categories. The first category is about the objects that absorb water, while the second category are the object that does not absorb water. You have also the different examples listed below, and what you're going to do now is you're going to write down inside these boxes where it is being classified. Is this object absorbs water, or is this object does not absorb water? As you can see here, the word absorb means to take in something as a liquid in a natural or gradual way. Some materials can absorb water more than others. The word repel means to move away. After doing that activity, we have here what's more. Activity 1.1, which materials absorbs water and which do not. As you can see here, we have 4 columns. The first column are the given examples of the objects that absorbs water. What you need to do is to identify the given picture and write your answer below. You need to complete the missing letter in the given word. On the second column, what you need to do is to describe the characteristic of that object. You can refer to its color, size, shape, and texture before you will place it in the water. On the third column and fourth column, what you need to do now is to write a check mark or a cross mark. Put a check mark if it is a material that absorbs water. If it is not, put a cross mark. After you finish this activity, Let's now test what have you learned. We have here 5 incomplete sentences, and what you're going to do is to choose the right word that describes the sentence. You can choose on the given choices below. The next part of the module is about what can I do. So we have here the following situations that you are going to apply your knowledge about non-porous and porous materials. So when we say the word porous, it means it absorbs water. And non-porous, it does not absorb water. You're going to identify what materials you are going to use, and you're going to explain it why. As you can see in number 1, a glass of milk spilled on the table. You want to dry the table immediately. What material are you going to use? You're going to write your answer on the next column. What material are you going to use? And you're going to explain it why. After finishing the 6 scenario or 6 examples, you're going to answer now the assessment part in lesson 1. We have here 10 items multiple choice. If you are already done, you need to do the additional activities. You need to classify the materials listed below if it is a porous material or a non-porous material. And that ends the lesson 1. Let us now proceed with the lesson 2. The lesson 2 is about the materials that floats and sink. So in this lesson, you're going to identify, classify, and describe the materials that floats and sink. You're going also to learn to withhold judgment and assumptions until you have sufficient information to reach a conclusion. You are going to start answering what I know. As you can see here, you need to read and understand the questions and encircle the letter of the best answer. We have here 10 items multiple choice. After answering that, let us now talk about the materials that float and sink. So have you ever wondered why some objects sink on water and some objects floats? So what do you think is the cause in which objects floats or sink? Well, it is about something called as the density. So when we say density, density is about how loose or tightly packed molecules are in an object. So let us now discover reasons behind the mystery of sinking and floating. As you can see here in the illustration, there is a paper boat over the water. So let us now read the given scenario. Elijah wanted to play with his paper boat. He placed the paper boat on the surface of water. Predict what will happen to the paper boat and draw your scientific guess below. So what you need to do here is to predict what will happen to the paper boat. You need to draw your scientific guess. After doing that, you need to answer your guide questions. We have here 2 questions. What happened to the paper on water? Is the material of the object important? And is the material of the object important? After doing that, we have now here a simple activity about floating or sinking. The title of the activity is called Can I Float or Sink? We will have here the materials listed, and what you need to do is to follow the procedure. After doing that, we have here a table which has 3 columns. The first column is about the object. The second column is about the characteristic of material before placing it in water. And the third column is your observations to whether the materials float or sink. On the second column, you need to write the characteristic of the material before you place it into water. You can refer to its size, shape, color, or texture. After that, you need to write your observations whether the materials float or sink. If the materials float, write the word float. If the material sink, write the word sink. After doing that activity, you need to answer as well the guide questions. We have here 5 guide questions enabled for you to assess what you have learned in the given activity. So when we say the word float, float means to stay above the surface of the water. Sink means to fall at the bottom of the water. Now, the main reason why an object floats because of the word what we call as the buoyancy. This is the tendency of an object to float in liquids. Some things float on top of the water and some things stay submerged part down, just like an iceberg. And some things sink. Some things sink very fast and some things sink very slowly. The next part of the module in lesson 2 is about the molecules. So objects are made up of very tiny particles called the molecules, and it can only be seen through a microscope. So we have here object A and object B. These are examples of molecules. You need to observe the given illustration in object A and in object B. Write your description below, inside the boxes. So when we say density, density is the degree of compactness as of an object. What's more, the next part of the module is we have here another table. What you need to do here is to encircle the word that predicts what will happen to the following materials placed in a basin with water. So for an example, in number 1, there is a 10 peso coin. If you put it in a basin with water, what would be your prediction? Do you think it will float or sink? So you need to encircle your answer. After doing that, on the third column, you're going to draw a smiley face if the material will float. And you need to draw a sad face if the material will sink. You can do, we also have here example number 2, rubber duck, number 3, eraser, number 4, paper clip, number 5, stone. So after doing that table, after answering that table, you need to answer the following guide questions. Upthrust. The word upthrust is the force that pushes an object up, makes it seem to lose weight in a liquid. So it says here, changing the object shape will also make its ability to float because it holds air, and upthrust has more space to push the object. An object shape can affect its ability to float, but some materials float no matter what. No matter what their shape, an object's shape can affect its ability to float, but some materials float no matter what their shape is, in such as styrofoam and balsa wood. Some things float at first, but they sink as they absorb water or take water through holes. Now, let us now test what have you learned in this lesson. So, you need to fill the missing word in each statement that summarizes our lesson. You will choose your answers here on the given choices below, and you need to write your answers inside these hearts. After doing that, you need to do the next activity. You need to look at the pictures here and guess the letters that complete the word in the box. You can use the given clues, enable for you to write and guess the letters to complete the word. After doing that, you need to finish the lesson 2 by answering your assessment. We have here 10 items, multiple choice. Now we have our lesson 3. Our lesson 3 is about the materials that undergoes decay. So please answer what I know. We have here multiple choice questions which consists of 10 items. So materials that undergo decay. So there are materials or objects are capable of being broken down or decomposed to smaller products by the action of living things such as animals or microorganisms. After being broken down, they are easily absorbed into the soil to become nutrients or elements. This is one property of materials that undergoes decay. So in this lesson, you will discover this property and be able to understand more about it. So, let's now move forward. What's in? As you can see here, we have here example of two images of a bread. So what you need to do here is you need to encircle the differences of the two images of a bread below. After that, you need to complete the missing letters in the given word. Use the description enable for you to answer this. So after doing that, we have here an example of a simple activity. We have here an example of a simple experiment. So we have here the materials listed below, and you need to follow the same procedure. You need to follow the procedures, and after doing the procedures, you need to fill up the given table. So we have here on the second column, third column, and fourth column, it is about the characteristics of the materials, about the color, texture, size, and shape and smell. So for an example, the name of the materials of bread. So what do you think is the characteristic of a bread before placing them in a setup? And after third day, what do you think the characteristic of the bread? And another, what is the characteristic of the materials on the seventh day? So after finishing doing this, after filling up the given table, you need to answer the guide questions. The next part in lesson 3 is about what is it. So as you can see here, we have here the biodegradable or decaying material that can break down into natural components such as bacteria. The next part of the module in lesson 3 is about the discussion about the materials that undergoes decay. So we have here the fossil fuel is a fuel formed by natural processes such as anaerobic decomposition of buried dead organisms containing organic molecules. After reading and analyzing the lesson, you need to classify the following materials based on the group they belong. So you have here the given choices inside the box, and you need to write it down over here if the materials can be decayed. Or you write here the different materials if the material does not undergo decay. So after doing that, let us now test what have you learned. You need to fill the missing words in each statement that summarizes our lesson. Choose on the given choices below. In what can I do, you're going to try how you're going to take care of our environment. You need to sort out the following materials into their proper segregating bins. We have here 4 segregating bins, which is a paper, plastic, metal, and compost. You will use the given choices below and write it down on its proper segregating bins. So we have here reuse, reduce, and recycle. The word reuse means using materials repeatedly. The word reduce means lowering the amount of waste produced. And the word recycle means using materials to make new products. So after that, you need to answer the assessment part in lesson 3. You have here 10 items multiple choice. After answering this, you need to do the additional activities. What you need to do here is you need to write a short sentences that explains on how will you apply the 3 R's in a given situation. So for example here, reduce. How can I reduce the things I use at home? So you're going to write short sentences and explain how will you going to apply the 3 R. Reduce, reuse, recycle. And that ends our lesson 3. Now, I am very happy being with you throughout this module. I hope you had fun learning in this module. See you again, class. This is Sir OJ, and thank you for listening.